mic's supposed to help. Kind of, sort of. All right, how we doing? Good. Awesome. Great start. As always. I think I got everybody. No Declan, no Mason, right? Okay. Yeah, rough day for the Aggies? Yeah. How's the crowd? People nice to y'all? No. Their fans aren't very nice. Yeah. They're pretty. So take solace in this, okay? So I wore my Oregon State shirt today. It was very late, and nobody watched it because it's way too late at night. But Oregon State played at USC, where we hadn't won since 1960, and we kicked the crap out of them. So 61 years, and it was awesome. And then you know what our coach said afterwards in the locker room? We ain't done yet. I was like, well, that's the whole Jimbo's motto for the year. So maybe they're done now. I don't know. Yeah. So in 2018. Oregon State was playing Arkansas in the College World Series, and they won the first game of the final. It's best of 3. And in the second game, we're down by a run with 2 outs, and we hit a pop fly over behind first base, and they completely overrun it, and they could have won the championship right there. Right after that, we got a base hit that tied the game. It was awesome. Then we beat them, and then we beat them in game 3. And their fans were pissed. It was great because they're not nice fans. So now everyone in Arkansas who watches this will hate me forever. Okay, but it was glorious. Okay. So, and they were number 1 team in baseball last year and didn't even make it to Omaha. So, hang in there. Okay. But they're pretty good. Okay, cool. I'm so excited that Hannah's here and everyone else. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. What did we talk about last week? Because you ended with a great question. What did we talk about? Moral dilemmas. Ring a bell? Some of you have no idea. I could do the same thing. Be like, all this is new. Okay? So, let's talk about it today. Has anybody read Crime and Punishment? Yes? What happens? Are you the only one? Anybody else read it?
I'm reading it
right now? Oh, good. I like it. Okay. What happens in Crime and Punishment, Kennedy? You remember? How long ago did you read it?
6 years ago.
Really? In high school or what?
Yeah.
Just, you had to, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This doesn't happen very often anymore. They don't make people, like the whole class read it?
I think they gave us a reading list of certain books, and that was on there, and that's what it shows.
Okay, cool. All right. Do you remember what happens? General gist.
I do not know.
You don't?
I don't remember.
It's like 7,000 pages. You don't remember anything?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What do you got? Gabriel?
I only read the first chapter or 2.
Okay.
It was talking about
I'll save you the time. Okay. Hang with me and see if I get anything wrong or what you remember. Okay. So our main character is named Raskolnikov. Right. And this is a classic. Right. One of the few that I read. Okay. Raskolnikov is a poor, struggling law student. Sound familiar? Yeah. And he doesn't quite have enough money, so he also doesn't eat often enough, which is so malnourishment figures in. He's not sleeping well, all that good stuff. So he's a bit of a mess already. And there's a woman who will pawn things for people in the neighborhood. And he develops a deep hatred. Everybody hates her, right? And he justifies in his mind that the world will be a better place and everybody will be a better place if he kills her. Hence the crime. Okay? It's in the title, right? So everything he does and thinks about is why it's a good thing to do. Why just killing this woman who's got a niece who basically treats her like a slave, right? Nobody likes her. She keeps all her money just in a chest, right? And he's going to kill her, and he's going to take the money, and everything will be better. And his mom and sister are trying to send money, but he knows they don't really have it. They're not sending very much. His sister's going to marry somebody she doesn't love just to marry somebody who's wealthy to help him get through law school. Okay? Highly recommend actually reading it if you're interested at all. Okay? So he comes up with the fact he's going to kill her, and he does. He kills her, and it doesn't go well. Okay? He thinks he's going to be better after, and everyone else is, and he takes the money, and he buries it immediately and wants nothing to do with it. Who he is after the murder is a much worse person than who he was before. Hence the punishment of him becoming more deceitful, more dishonest, a worse student, okay? And kind of spirals out of control from there. which is mostly the rest of the book of what happens. Okay? He comes up with every reason to do wrong and morally justifies it. He's justifying what he's going to do, even though it's wrong. If you're using moral licensing, which is just justification, all right, the ice cream cone, right? If we drop it, it's biodegradable. It's not a big deal, okay? Because you thought that, right? If you're using moral licensing, which is saying it's okay for me to do it, my morals say it's okay, then that's actually a pretty cowardly act. You're trying to justify something that you shouldn't be doing, right? Is the ice cream cone the same as murder? No. Okay? Unless you're really hungry, right? It's really good. Okay? No, of course not, right? But that's what we do. We tend to destroy the straw man. Who knows what that means? What's the straw man? I guess it's...
Has to do with like the straw man fallacy.
Which is what?
Thinking like finding a way.
Yeah.
I've heard of
Okay. Obviously, it sunk in. Yeah. The straw man is when you come up with somebody or something and you want to make them small and crush them. Okay? Instead of him dealing with the pond woman, he creates this image in his head that she's just this horrible little person that he's going to kill. Right? Instead of confronting someone that might be made of steel. So you get something in your mind and you make them into a straw man. You make them weak. You make them small. You figure out how you can beat them down. Right? Not a good thing to do. Not a good way to go about it. Right? And again, what happens to him afterwards, all this stuff he thinks is going to be better, everything that he comes up with to say, this is the right thing to do. And this was a horrible person. But every reason that he came up with was not justifiable. Right? And then even trying to define it afterwards, he can't really do. He can't even figure out why he did it in the first place later. Right? Questions on that? What happens in Pinocchio? Huh? That's right. Yeah. Okay. What else? Wants to be a real boy. Okay. What happens in that? What happens later in the movie? Huh? Children go to the island. Yeah, he gets drunk. Has a good time. Okay. Turns into a jackass. Sound familiar? Okay. What else? What happens in Pinocchio? Why? What happened first?
I think it's a whale.
Yes. What happens in the whale? Who's in the whale?
He's an old man.
His dad's in the whale. Okay? The monster, right, takes his dad, and his dad is literally in the belly of the beast. And Pinocchio does what? Huh? He has to go get him, right? He has to go. The only person that's trying to help him, right? He basically turns his back on, goes and gets wasted with his buddy, okay, and his dad gets eaten by the beast. Is in the belly of the beast. And it's up to him to go rescue the only person that cares about him. Okay? He has to go get him. He has to face his fears, right? And what happens to Pinocchio after that? You guys touched on it. What happens after he goes and saves his dad? He becomes a real boy. He dies and is born again. Heard this anywhere else? Yeah. Okay. Maybe in your religion. Okay. What about Peter Pan? Look, if you didn't read Crime and Punishment, I know you saw Disney movies. Okay.
That's where you're wrong.
Okay, what happens in Peter Pan? What do you got, Stone? Come on. What happens in Peter Pan?
A kid.
Listen, the rest of the movies are terrible. We're focusing on the first one. There's like 4 Tinkerbell movies. I have daughters that saw them all. They're terrible. Okay. What do we got? What happens?
A kid kidnaps other kids. But it's in English. So
Kidnapping. Okay. What do you got?
Kids run away.
Kids run away. What do we got?
So they go off to Neverland.
They go off to Neverland, right? Who's Peter Pan? What? Tell me about Peter Pan.
Wait, like Peter Pan or the real Peter Pan that's a psychopath?
No. The kid in the movie.
Well, originally the story started. Yeah, he's a psychopath. And he kills people.
Tell me about Peter Pan the boy. What's his issue? Why doesn't he like Captain Hook? He doesn't want to grow up. Sound familiar? Okay. Peter Pan's a boy, he just wants to have fun. Life's fun. It's awesome. Keep it that way. Why doesn't he like Captain Hook? He's an old-ass man, right? Gross. Boring. Okay? It's awful. Doesn't want to become that. Why does Captain Hook not like the crocodile? He's trying to eat him. What does the crocodile represent? Death. The ticking clock. Crocodile. He's trying to kill Hook. Okay? Pan doesn't want to grow up. Doesn't want to become that. Does Pan have to grow up?
No.
You seem very unsure of your answer, right?
I mean, by movie logic, no.
Should he grow up? Why?
It's great being a kid and all, like, not having to pay for rent, mom's cooking, but at the same time, like, you eventually want to get out and go do something, accomplish something, you know?
Who wants a 40-year-old boy around who doesn't work? You gonna date Alicia? You gonna date that guy? No, probably not. Okay, right? You gotta grow up at some point. Okay. What are these examples of? Kind of, yeah. Huh? Disney movies? Yeah. Well, there were stories well before Disney got their hands on them. Okay. What are these as a whole? Maturing, yeah. They are, starts with M. Morals. They're literally telling you a story of morals. And it starts at the bottom. Your morals don't come from the top down. A CEO or a president of a country, the Corps commander, right? He doesn't get to tell you what your morals are. You figure them out. They start as you grow and you develop and you go through things, right? They start at the bottom. What you have to do is face your fears. Oh, what happened? My phone does not like this. Sorry, my phone was freaking out. Pinocchio has to face his fears to become a real boy. This is you guys. Where does this fit in SOMS? What are we working on this semester? Huh? Maturing, what'd you say? The LDP. What are we working on? What are we focusing on this semester?
Our constraints.
Yeah, your weaknesses, your constraints. Yep, why you suck. Perfect. Glad you remember things. We have to face our fears, which we don't want to do. We don't want to grow up. We don't want to be Captain Hook. He's terrible. Right? There's probably a middle ground where it's okay. But you have to face your fears. Do we like doing that? Why not?
It's hard. It's difficult.
It's hard. It sucks. It's way more fun to be the stinky, smelly kid who sleeps in trees. It's a lot better, right? Some of you are like, no, it's gross. Okay. Way better. All right. When you watch a movie, who do you simulate with? When you see the protagonist, when you see the hero, do you think that's you? You think you would be like that? Typically we do, right? We see the hero that's become, or we see the person. Look, Clark Kent, before he's Superman, is a nerd, right? He's kind of weak. He's a doofus. He's not good with Lois Lane, okay? And then he takes off his glasses and is super hot, hunky guy, right? Okay? Flies around the world. We assimilate with the hero if they're like us a little bit. And here's where Superman went wrong. And who likes Star Wars? The new Star Wars movies? Have they gone downhill? Okay, stick with me. We'll get into that. Okay. Superman, before, when he first came out in the comic books, he could leap over a building, right? He could run faster than the train. Then we made the movies in the 80s, and he can fly around the world and turn back time. What do we relate with a little more? Being a little bit faster and stronger, or being able to make time go backwards? Yeah, being a little bit better, right? Okay, he's a little bit better than us, right? Which we assimilate with. Then, now he's like juggling planets, okay? And then we kind of lose our interest. So what do? They make kryptonite. We have to bring him back down a little bit. Is this what happened with Star Wars? No? Is it still good? No, not good. Why?
Well, the newest, the lightsaber fights suck. That's number one. I mean,
Okay, what else? Why? Why do they suck?
lightsaber fights?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's swinging it like a baseball bat. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the 1, 2, and 3 is like a freaking Bruce Lee, so it's kind of downgraded.
Okay.
But like the stories, the characters weren't. One, they just weren't the originals, but two, like Rey just seemed to just be able to just do everything,
Right.
and she had no I don't know, and there was no character development.
What about Luke Skywalker?
All this stuff was just equivalent to Luke Skywalker or Anakin or whatever.
But what about him in those movies, in the recent ones?
The whole thing is like the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, but all of a sudden he can like be somewhere without being there. Like he can teleport and talk to people and stuff. Like, where the hell did that come from, right? At the end when they're shooting at him, he's not even there.
I haven't seen the last. I stopped after the Force Awakens.
Okay. A man of principles. Don't see the next one.
Well, they had how many different directors and went back and forth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Right. Why though? Why was it terrible?
Just got too far-fetched.
It's too far-fetched.
The original is Luke Skywalker started in the Lubbock of Star Wars.
Epically great line. And what's he trying to do? He's like picking up rocks, right? With his mind, and the ship's too heavy to pick up with Yoda. He's just having a hard time lifting rocks. Okay? Now, in the next, spoiler alert, in the next one, he's not even there, right? And he can just talk to people and everything's fine. Okay? And you're like, okay, what can Jedis do and what can they not do? There has to be a set of rules. Okay? Because we want our hero to get a little bit better. All right? And that's what we relate to. Okay? The hard part, okay, if we look at history, right, and where you fit in, if you're reading about the Laura, you good? Stand up if you need to. If you're reading about what happened during the Holocaust in Germany, okay, if you grew up in Germany in the 1930s, are you going to be someone who frees Jewish people, or are you more than likely a Nazi? If you grew up in Germany in the 30s, what do you think you're doing? More than likely, you're a Nazi. Or at least falling in line. You're not going to speak out. But when we read history and we see history or the superhero in the movies, right, we tend to think that we would do that thing. We would be the one. Sophia, you good? Stand up if you need to. You guys are tired. Stand up. If you think you would be the one person who stands out, if you're Schindler's List and no, you're not. Most of you aren't. If you disagree, look at your clothes. You're going to fall in line, right? Most of us. Okay? But that's why we like the hero. And even the bad guy in the movie, right? It's not one, there's no one that's that terrible. They're a composite of people that are terrible. All right? Same thing with the superhero. They're never that great, right? There are composite of things that are great. It's never all in one. But what we want is we want them to be a little bit better than they were. Okay, what happens with these fools? In general, what happens? They grow, yeah, some along the way. What happens? Other than the ginger gets the girl, okay? This is the most important thing for everybody to remember, okay? Yeah, that Wesley ends up with Hermione. Come on, that's pretty funny. What happens in Harry Potter? Weasley, whatever. Yeah, sorry.
That's not whatever. Yeah, I'm Wesley. Believe me, I wish I could get him a Wesley.
For the money or the looks or both? Yeah. Zero hesitation. Okay, my man. Excellent. Stay-at-home husband. Okay. What happens to them? What do they keep doing? What happens every movie? Fighting bad guys. And? Getting into trouble. Why do you like Harry then? His morals are crap. He keeps breaking the rules. Right?
Harry's morals?
Huh?
Harry's morals?
Yeah.
They're crap.
Are they?
No.
Why not?
I think he's breaking the rules, but he stays within the moral boundaries.
Oh my God, Wes King. Okay? Here's why you like. Here's where we come back to Hannah's murder question, which is a great question. Okay? You have to learn to master the rules first. You have to learn to master the rules and be disciplined enough to follow them. And if you break the rules, you keep in line with the spirit of the rule. Every time they do something wrong and then Harry apologizes, he saves somebody, right? Okay? And he fights the snake, all right? And the three-headed dog, right? And the troll and all that stuff. And he uses the map, right? But only for good. And the cloak of invisibility, only for good, right? So we like him for that because even though they're breaking the rules, they're trying to help others or help their friends. That's where we like the morals. So when you're a kid, okay, and you're playing with other kids, wait till you have kids. Some of you will remember this, some of you won't. If you're playing with the kid that always breaks the toys, do you want to play with that kid? No, we don't like you, okay? If you're the bad person who is going against the morals that are loosely defined, you're a bad person. You have to play by the rules of the game. Now, when you're a kid, the rules are always changing, and you want to make the rules to your advantage. But if you do it too much, nobody wants to play with you. This never stops in life. This never stops. You're still playing a game, it's just a different game. Maybe it's more serious, maybe it doesn't feel like a game. But you're still playing along, and you have to figure out the rules of the game and if you're going to fit. So if your morals tell you to kill people, we don't like you. Right? Are morals the same around the world? No. No, they're not. Okay, so they are different. But there tends to be still a set of rules. Okay? The 10 Commandments are loosely followed pretty much everywhere in the world and throughout most major religions. Okay? Harry Potter is the exact same as the Bible of things that happen in there. Okay? And the reason that happens, okay, if you're reading the Bible, there are things in there that are not very believable, right? But that's how we have to tell the story, because that's how the stories got passed down. We did them orally before we could write. So the stories changed and were translated a little differently, but we had to make the story that way, okay, so you would actually remember it. And along the way, Harry does what? Is he getting a little bit better or a little bit worse every time? A little bit better. Everything that happens, he gets a little bit better. All of them, right? They're improving a little bit, okay? And then Malfoy, just a dick the whole time, right? Such an asshole, okay? All the time. And we don't like him just because he doesn't get any better. He's always the same, right? So, if you break the rules, you have to keep in line with the spirit of the rules. Then we're okay with it. Does that answer your question? A little bit that you asked last week?
Yeah, so my question last week, it wasn't necessarily that I understood, it was just that I disagreed.
That you what?
It wasn't necessarily that I misunderstood, it was just that I disagreed.
Yeah, and that's fine. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but I want to address the question. And I don't think you didn't understand. You asked a great question, right? But you were literally jumping ahead at the end of class to where we were going, which is great, right? But does this make sense?
Yeah.
That
Still don't agree, but I understand.
what don't you agree with?
I agree with a single point of, I agree with a single set of morals that is right. And I agree in, well, I believe in an absolute truth. And other people's morals doesn't change whether or not that is correct. So what other people think about truth doesn't change whether or not that's correct. So I believe that there is a set standard of morals that is correct for everybody, and I don't think that changes for people based on what they think about a moral, or even based on morals.
So, can you give me an example? What you mean? You're saying that everyone has the same set of morals?
I'm not saying that everyone has the same set of morals, but I think that there are sets of morals that are correct for everyone. For example, cold-blooded murder. I think that is wrong for everyone, regardless of
Uh-huh.
what you think or believe.
Yes, and that's my point. You're right. If they justify it, if they're justifying it, that's cowardly. If they're using their morals to justify it, it isn't right. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I take that set of morals, like what is right and what isn't right. I base those morals off the Bible and off of God's word. So
Right.
when I said that, when I see
Right. But not everybody on the planet follows that same religion, right?
I understand, and I know that they don't, but I'm saying that just because they believe it doesn't change whether or not it's true.
Right. Okay, fair enough. But you can see how people would disagree.
Yes.
Okay? And most of the major religions are rather similar. So they're going to fall in line for the most part. Okay? There's not any major religion that says murder's okay. Right? So the playing field is relatively level. And if you are using something to justify the wrong, then you're the coward. You're the one who doesn't improve. And you're worse off because of it. If you're using your own morals to do harm, you are worse off because of it. Does that make sense? Did you have something to say? Did you have your hand up?
I was just going along the lines of how do you know what is supposed to be true? Like even before the Bible, what justified the standard?
Right, okay. And even, when did Moses get the 10 Commandments? Right away? No. It took a long time, okay? Because if we just gave them to him, he wouldn't know what to do, right? There's a great older movie called The History of the World Part 1, and it's a comedy, and he gets in it. Has anybody seen it? You seen it? It's phenomenal. And he gets 15 commandments, but he drops one of the tablets. He's like, I have 10, so he lies like right away. Okay, that's the point. But if you can watch it objectively, it's hilarious. Okay, but it took Moses a long time before he got the commandments, right? So he had to work through some things and prove himself for trust. It's not the same for everybody. It's not. Everyone's truth is different. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't. Okay. If Jimmy's truth says I get to kill people whenever I want, his truth isn't right. But we have to balance it out because some people are like that, unfortunately. And there's a bunch of reasons as to why. Anything else? Great points. You guys don't have to agree with me. My job is to get you to think for yourself. Right? But most people don't think alike. Even you cadets. You don't all think alike. You think you do. You really don't. You're all very, very different. Right? Not even all Aggies think alike, right? Those terrible non-regs. Okay? It's all very different. Right? But to be great, to be revered, you have to play by the rules. Right? Did we like Johnny Manziel? Yeah. Did Johnny play by the rules? Not really. No.
On the field, no. On the field, yes.
But if Johnny went to Arkansas, would you have liked him the same?
No.
Hell no. You only liked him because he was your guy and he won a Heisman in a bunch of football games. So what we take as our own, that's what we like. All right? But if another quarterback does it, right? If another quarterback cheats or another player cheats, we don't like it. To be great, you have to play by the rules. We hate cheaters. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess what's the difference between playing by the rules and then doing something outside the rules because it's right? For like example, you can name a billion people in history who didn't play by the rules but are remembered because they changed the rules because either the rules were crap or they like wanted to make something better. And so they didn't play, but they actually purposely went against the rules for the betterment of
Well, remember doesn't mean great. Right? So there's a difference. But so tell me what you mean. Give me an example.
For example, first one that comes to mind, like Martin Luther King Jr. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he went against all kinds of systemic rules that were in place at the time to try to make something better for his community, for his country. But that was completely against all kinds of.
What rules did he break?
If you want to talk about like discrimination rules, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like maybe nothing like legally, like yes, he had the right to like speak and do all those things. Like he didn't break those rules, but he broke kind of like those unspoken like societal rules.
Mm-hmm.
Which those exist as well. So
Right. Were those rules right? Was the game
that's what I'm saying.
was the game fair?
No.
No, the game wasn't fair. So he broke the rule. He may have broken the rules, but was the spirit of the rule correct? He was trying to create equality, right? That's the spirit of what we should be doing here in this country, right? That's what's in the Constitution. Created equal, right? So while he may have been breaking discrimination rules, he was keeping in line with the spirit of the larger rules, right? King was, what do we know about King? What do you know about Martin Luther King Jr.? Huh? Pastor, yep. Father was a pastor, yep. Changed his name to Martin Luther King. Okay. If you're Catholic, sorry, you may not like him. Okay, what else? What else do we know about King? Went to jail, civil rights activist. Okay. When he came to Birmingham, which was nicknamed Bombingham at the time, because it was a terrible place, racism was a major issue. There was a lot of violence in the city. Okay. He was an outsider. He wasn't from there. He went to Harvard Divinity School. Okay. And then comes down and inherits this thing. He's new. He has a fresh perspective. That's what brought him in. Okay. That's actually where he started succeeding, because he could look at it from the outside and say, what we're doing here is not great. All right? And absolutely had to learn along the way. It was hard. He gained weight. He was stressed a lot of the time, right? He was hospitalized for how many hours he was working and all this stuff. But all of that was a development of what he was going through. He didn't just come in and give the I have a dream speech. He went through some shit, and he didn't always get it right. Right? It was a hard road to figure it out. Right? But the rules he broke, okay, he tried to do it peacefully. Okay? He tried to keep in line with the spirit of what this country was supposed to represent. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
Okay, so on a slightly more practical level, if you are driving at night in the middle of nowhere and there's a stoplight and it's red, the spirit of the law says that you stop at the light because it's protecting everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one else.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just speed right through at 60 miles an hour?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you want to do?
I want to go right through it.
Why?
There's no one there.
You hope.
No, like in this situation, there is.
Okay.
It's flat. You can see all ways. There's no one.
Okay, so there's no one there, but a cop sitting there and sees you and pulls you over.
Nope. Red light. There's no one there.
So
No
there's
cop.
zero consequences?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
That goes back to how you act when no one's looking.
Correct.
So, for you,
What about me?
do you stop? Or
Yeah, I'm stopping.
Why?
I can't see.
What do you mean you can't see?
I don't know if somebody's... Look, I did this when I was 16 once.
Flat.
Here's what happened, and I almost died.
Oh God.
Okay? I had to be home by a certain night. We were at a certain time, right? My buddy lived on the other end of town. Okay, Taylor, you good? Okay, just make sure you're awake. Okay? I had to be home by a certain time, and I knew leaving his neighbor, I was like, how can I shave a few minutes? We were watching a movie, and it wasn't over, and I wanted to watch the rest of the movie. But I was also like, again, break some rules, but I'm a rule follower by nature. Okay? So I was like, okay, well, what can I do to get home on time? And I knew leaving the neighborhood, there was a stop sign, and it was out country road, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I knew that I could run that stop sign and not worry about cars coming if I moved over into the other lane. Because I could see oncoming traffic for a long ways. But if I stopped, I had to look way back around behind me to see if someone was coming. So it's midnight, no one's out, we're far out in the country, and I'm like, okay, I can run that stop sign if I just slide over into the lane because I can see a long ways and nobody will be coming. I'll be damned if a car did not come along in that other lane at the exact same time I sped out of that neighborhood. I mean, absolutely could have plowed into each other and hurt me, hurt them. So even though no one got hurt, was it the right thing to do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay? I got away with it. I got lucky. But I'm stopping there because I can't see. I don't know. This happened in College Station the other night. Are you good? Okay. Somebody hit a black calf that was out in the middle of the road, like in the city. Right? A calf got out. It wasn't too far from pasture, but like on a main road. And it was a black calf. You couldn't see it at night until it was too late and plowed into it. Okay? So if you're going to break the rules, fine, and you might get away with it. But the next time you might not. So you're going to think, okay, I got away with it. Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment got away with the murder. No one saw him. No one caught him. But what happened to him internally was far worse. So if you want to break the rules and you're justifying it, fine. But you're rolling the dice. It's not always going to come out the way you want it. because there's all the things. Remember the shopping cart? Makes me mad when I see a shopping cart left out there. But I don't know why it's out there. I can pass judgment. It doesn't mean I'm right. Make sense?
So that's not fulfilling the spirit of the law.
I'm not following the spirit of the law if I run the stop sign.
Why?
Because it's a stop sign or a stoplight. I'm supposed to stop. I'm not following the spirit of the law. I'm just doing it to be selfish.
No, the spirit of the law is why was the law created? Isn't it? The spirit of the law.
For safety,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So how am I, if I'm running it, how am I following the spirit of the law?
Because if it was a completely like desert plain and you could see all no shrubbery, nothing, just flat. You can see a mile in all directions.
Yeah. What does that have to do with the spirit of the law?
There'd be no one there. There's no one to protect. You're safe. Everyone's safe. There's just a red light
That doesn't have anything to do. What's the spirit of the law? Why is the law in place?
to protect other people,
And yourself.
either of which are in harm's way.
That one time, but you're not following the spirit of the law. So what you're doing is justifying why you can do it. You're saying no one got hurt, I didn't get hurt, it's fine. But you're not following the spirit of the law at all. You're just self-serving.
What if we switch the situation? No, wait, legitimate. What if we switch the situation?
Okay.
Stop at the light.
Yeah?
The light hasn't changed for 5 minutes. It's probably not going to. Can you run it now?
Yeah, I might because I stopped. So I followed the spirit of the law.
So now you follow the spirit of the law.
Yeah, because I stopped and checked. And if I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's a stop sign and no one's coming and I can see, the spirit of the law, it should have been a stop sign.
But you still broke the real law.
I did.
Well, if it's broken, then you can still, as long as you stop.
Yeah.
And then you can go.
Because if I didn't stop, I wouldn't know that. And I don't follow the spirit of the law. If I stop and see no one is coming for miles and I'm out in Lubbock, okay, I'm good. But at least I stopped. So I followed the spirit of the law. I followed the rules. Right? But the game wasn't correct, right? So if it's broken and it stays there forever, then I interpret it as a stop sign and no longer a stop light. Same reason when signals go out. They flash yellow, they flash red. You still have to follow the spirit of the law. Where are we at? Now what happens? Aliens?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Did I answer your question?
Sure.
Okay. Still gonna run it?
But
Are you still gonna run it? Okay. You gotta follow the rules for us to like you. Now, will we forgive you? Eventually we will. If you redeem yourself, eventually we will. Mike Vick was a good example. He's too old for you guys. Right. So Mike Vick was a great quarterback in the NFL, and he got busted for dogfighting. He didn't think he was going to. Okay, and he was at the time one of the most hated people in this country. Because if you hate dogs, you're a terrible person. First of all, right? We established that. Okay. People who didn't even know or care about football or know who this guy was were so angry with what he did with dogs. Okay. He couldn't play football. He went to jail, and then he started doing all this activism for animal care and raising dogs. And at first you're like, yeah, it's because he has to. Or it's the, how about the apology of the football player who gets in trouble? I'm sorry that I did a bad thing. I will never do it again. This is not who I am as a person. Do we believe that? Not for a second. If you do something wrong, we think you're guilty. If you get accused of something, we assume that you're guilty until proven innocent. Now, after several years, Mike Vick actually redeemed himself, became a good football player again, followed the law, did everything, and people absolutely came around. Now, some still don't like it. Fair. But for the most part, if you screw up and redeem yourself, we love the second chance. We love the underdog. We like the second chance. Once you're on top, we don't like you very much. We don't like Alabama football, do we? No, we want them to come to Clemson, 2-2 right now. Ranked? Should Clemson be ranked? No, Oregon State should be ranked. Screw Clemson, 2-2. Okay? Hey, we're 3-1. We're not very good. Give us a chance. Okay. All right, so let's get into that. Here's exactly what you're talking about, Ryan. It's okay if I do it.
Is that guy levitating in the background?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think he's taped to the wall. He might have his left foot up on something, but I think he's taped to the wall. Huh?
That looks legitimately fun.
For who?
All of everybody.
Is that guy in the bottom having fun?
Yes.
No, he's not. No, he's not. This was in an article in Texas, what is it, Texas Monthly or whatever, several years back, about the hazing and the problems that happened in the Corps Cadets. You can read it online, and it's not very long ago. Right?
What year?
You can go look it up. It's not very long ago, 20 years ago maybe. 98, something like that. Is that guy at the bottom having fun? No. No, probably not. Okay. Can we still do that? Why not? It's fun. It's fun for everybody. Why can't we do it? Huh? Yeah, why? Why quad moms? Huh? What? Yeah, but what, who are they defending?
Well, the kid has to complain first.
Say it again?
The kid has to complain for the parents to know the information.
Correct. Yeah, how does it get to quad moms? They're not here.
The kid lying.
Yeah, because it sucked. Okay? You guys don't know when to stop. There's always a line, and this is the moral line. Okay? It's fun for everybody else. It's not fun for everybody. Okay? Here's your 2%ers. Fish year, we break you down, right? Tell you what you stink at. Tell you what you're bad at. You fail everything, every inspection. Are fish's rooms cleaner than yours? Yes, they are. Who's a good cadet? They are, not you. Right? Why isn't your room as clean as theirs, Wes? Because you're a lazy piece of shit. Right? You don't have the same standards anymore. And once you made it to sophomore year, like, I'm good. I paid my dues in the Corps. Right? Some of you, hell yes. Can't wait to come back and yell. Knife fan. Okay? Some people didn't make it back. Some people didn't get built back up. They never came back from freshman year, or they left before the end of it. And sophomore year, and even at the end of fish year, we build you back up, right? Make you okay. We give you your brass. Tell you you're good. Sophomore year, you're great. Okay? You're going to get your boots. A lot of them didn't make it. The moral problem is where's the line? Because you guys will always cross the line. And even if it's just a little bit. And he's fine. It was okay. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. We screwed up a kid. Right? At a young, impressionable age, and now they leave here and they hate this university. Right?
Do you think the line's different for everybody?
Of course it is. The line is different for everybody, but you don't know what the line is for the other person. The line is constant. You guys are like raptors, always testing the fence for weakness. Okay? This is kids. This is in your nature. This has not changed for generations. It doesn't mean it's good. All right? The other thing you guys will do. Yes, ma'am.
Like when it comes to crossing the line, I think it's kind of, especially like with us being like white belts and stuff, like we see a fish and then like they don't look like they're doing so hot. It's like okay, maybe that's like our. If we see something, we have to say something.
Yes.
And intervene, like with sharking and stuff. Like I think we only had like 4 freshmen and like maybe 10 sophomores, one formation, and we had like a meeting because they were caught like shark eating and stuff. And so I think if we feel that our sophomores are crossing the line, it's like our responsibility to kind of step in and kind of pull them back.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy. And there's a hierarchy wherever you're going to go work. Whatever you do in life, there will be a hierarchy. Okay? Taylor, will you put your phone away, please? Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The accountability is in the system. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay.
Like body language kind of.
Yeah.
They
You can
feel
see it.
visibly uncomfortable. Alright, like is there something else that's going on with them?
Right.
How are they doing like mentally?
Yeah.
Some people, you can say something to them about it, but then some of them it's like,
There's been 2 freshmen in the last 2 years that have hung themselves, committed suicide in the Corps. Okay. most of us are selfish. And when you're young, you're selfish. And you're worried about yourself. And you're trying to get to school. And you're trying to get to grad school. And you're trying to get a job and all these things. Most of us don't really look after other people. Most of us don't care. You ask somebody how they're doing. Do you really care? Do you genuinely listen? Because we tend to miss signs. There's usually signs that we're there. Right? One of the things that all of us are guilty of, okay? These are all biases we're all guilty of. I'm not just singling you guys out. Right? I can do this because they did that. How many do that? Well, Steve gets to do it. Steve gets to go. Why don't I get to go? Because Steve's a terrible kid. Okay? But you guys will always find something that somebody else did and justify it for you. Am I wrong? You guys are smiling. Am I wrong?
Oh no, you just have a head whose name is Steve, so.
Okay. But you will find an example of what someone else did, and you will justify it for yourself, whether it's right or wrong.
I hate that mentality.
Why?
Like, like I feel like, we're all adults. We're able to like kind of weigh our decisions and like, think for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if someone else did something, that doesn't mean we should do it. I think we all have a brain, and we're all capable of like, figuring out, okay, am I really gonna do this, or like am I just gonna like follow what everyone else is doing? Like, oh, everyone's doing it, okay, I'll join this. Like, no, I think we can all think for ourselves and be like, do I really want to do this, or man, I'm just gonna like step to the side, let them do it. Let's see how it works out for them. Oh, okay, I'm glad I never did it.
See, this is a good example. How many of you think back 1,000 years ago when you were a fish, and you were getting yelled at and it sucked? How many of you were like, I'm not going to do this? Who thought that? Who thought they were going to do it differently? Did you do it differently?
Yeah.
The Mr. Running the red light? Okay. How many of you came back sophomore year like, oh, I'm so excited to be a sophomore and just yell at their fish? Was it uncomfortable for you, Grant?
Okay, so like,
Quickly.
so it wasn't uncomfortable, but at the same time, like, some of my sophomores, like, they were not instilling discipline. They were just being like assholes. Like, I tried not to be that, but like at the same time, like, I kind of did enjoy like yelling at them.
Okay,
Sounds
fine.
horrible, but like,
But you could think for yourself, right?
right.
Did you know what was right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, quickly, Wes. One more thing to get to. What do you got?
Never mind. It's not really.
Yeah. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. I see this almost every semester. Somebody's missing assignments or doesn't come to class for a long time, and they come and they tell, sir, this is not who I am. I'm a good person. I'm a good student, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. No, you're not. You haven't shown me that you are. What you do is who you are, not what you say you'll do. Let me know who Carl Jung is. Yeah, psychologist, definitely worth reading. Okay. Johnny Kim. We talked about him. We know who Johnny is? Is Johnny better than all of us? Yes. Okay. Johnny's an incredible human being. Navy SEAL, Harvard Medical School astronaut. Incredibly hard challenges along the way. Who do you guys want to be? Because what you do is who you are, not what you say you'll do. Who do you want to be? You're here in school, you're in the Corps. Define who you want to be and then aim at that like nothing else. And if you spend 10 minutes a day trying to be better than you were yesterday, that's a decent improvement. Because 10 minutes is not a lot. But at the end of the week, you're 50 minutes better. Okay? At the end of the month, you're hours better. And at the end of a couple years, you're a whole lot better person than you were. It doesn't take much to be that hero who's trying to improve. The hero in the movie that you want to be. It doesn't take much. Taylor lost 98 pounds, right? It started with 1. 1 pound was lost. Okay? If you're just a little bit better each day, that's a lot. Okay? Here's what I want you to try and do. I want you to pay attention to yourself for the next 2 weeks. Try to observe what you're doing. Try to observe when you feel like you're kind of in the zone, when things are good. And normally if you're in the zone, you don't really notice. Things are going well on a test, right? Homework's good. You're doing PT and you feel like you can run forever, all right? I want you to pay attention to yourself and see when those things happen. When do I feel good? When are things clicking? When are things right? It's hard to do and it's hard to notice. Pay attention to that over the next couple weeks, right? Because we're going to try and develop the things that we're not paying attention to as much as we are the things that we're good at. Sound good? Cool. Questions? We learn anything today?